Yo, what's up, family? Before we start the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and share it to any and everyone as you can. Just get out there a little bit more. With that being said, let's get right to the video. The Boston Celtics completed the season sweep of the New York Knicks in their last game, and the duo of Jason Tatum and Kristaps Porzingis really held us down, and I wanted to take a look. So let's get into the film. All right, how y'all doing? I hope y'all doing good. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, make sure you take your shoes off before you come in the house. And first, we will start with Kristaps Porzingis, who had 34 points in this game, was 11 for 19 from the field, was 8 for 13 from 3, and had a 78.6% true shooting in this game. And I really like this matchup for Kristaps Porzingis. And in all of the games against the Knicks, he's shown this, whether it's Karl-Anthony Towns or in this game, it was some of Mitch Robinson also. It's just their bigs are just not quick enough to stay with Kristaps Porzingis, whether that's him and Jason Tatum in the pick and pop game. Their bigs cannot get out fast enough to guard that. And then when Kristaps eventually hits like 5 threes, well, the Knicks didn't do this in this game, but there were previous times where in previous games where Kristaps would get hot from 3 early, then they would really try to allocate themselves to stop Kristaps Porzingis from shooting at 3, and he would just pump fake and get to the rim, or that would just leave Jason Tatum wide open to drive. So I just really like this matchup for both of these guys. Of course, on the Tatum side, OG Anunoby is a great defender, but it's just not a lot he can do when there's 4 other guys on the court, and the Celtics have such a good screening team. So here on the first play for Kristaps Porzingis, the Celtics are going to run some flex action. A flex screen, well, this is a flex screen right here. Jrue Holiday is going to set. Kristaps Porzingis has the option to go this way or to go this way, depending on what they want to do. This is to get a switch on Jalen Brunson, but Cat does a nice job of staying with Kristaps, but we still end up getting the ball, and Kristaps is a tough mid-range. All right, so here the Celtics run this play pretty often. I believe this was a slide play, and it is just a pin down, or just a regular pin down for Kristaps Porzingis. He gets the switch on Jalen Brunson, and this is all we want to do right here, right? We got the switch. We want Karl-Anthony Towns comes over to Kristaps Porzingis. We want Karl-Anthony Towns to move his feet. We want Karl-Anthony Towns to be closing out on our driver, so he closes out. Jrue Holiday penetrates, draws the help from Josh Hart. That means Mikal Bridges has to replace him. He goes to the corner. A good read by Jrue Holiday, but all that was set up by Kristaps Porzingis. And I don't know, this is still the second quarter, but some of the coverages by the Knicks were like kind of blowing my mind. And this is like a perk of having a guy like Jason Tatum, like the gravity that he holds off the ball, on the ball, just in general. Tremendous gravity. So when Josh Hart sees that OG Anunoby is getting screened, OG Anunoby is going to fight like hell either way. But Josh Hart is going to shade over to Jason Tatum no matter how many threes Kristaps Porzingis already has. I'm not sure how many he had to this point, but in the third and fourth quarter, they were still like not up on Kristaps Porzingis. And it's so much easier said than done, because when Jason Tatum's driving, I understand that that's probably the key point. So Porzingis can have 40 points, but if Jason Tatum's driving, they're probably still going to leave Kristaps. And I felt Kristaps did nice in this game defensively. Of course, Karl-Anthony Towns went off in this game. The Celtics didn't do their like leave Josh Hart really strongly like they did in the first 3 matchups, especially the last game we played them. They just paid Josh Hart no mind, and it was really tough for Karl-Anthony Towns to get anything going, as he's only averaged 15 points against the Celtics. The defensive strategy and the offensive strategy with the high pick and roll, the angle pick and roll, and the high pick and roll, where they can either do that, and if the angle pick and roll doesn't amount to anything, they can go to some blind pick action. There's just so many things that they can do against this team, especially with Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson on the floor defensively. But Karl-Anthony Towns ended up having a great night. They had a lot of the smalls guarding him like they usually do. Had Kristaps on Josh Hart, but he wasn't helping as strong as he was in the first 3 games. So I wouldn't say the Celtics were just lax, but it just wasn't as aggressive as it usually is. Kristaps gets a stop there on Jalen Brunson, comes down, hit a 3. And I mean, again, what is Karl-Anthony Towns like? What is like? Jaylen Brown has picked up his dribble. The clip is cut off, so he could have just been there this whole time, which still doesn't make much sense. But Jaylen Brown has picked up his dribble. Josh Hart is in great position. Right, Jaylen Brown has no dribble. The only thing he can do is rise up and shoot, but I doubt he's gonna do that with 19 seconds left. Karl-Anthony Towns just reaches for the basketball for no reason, and like, yes, this is a tough shot with a 7-footer closing out on you. But we know who Kristaps Porzingis is. If I know who Kristaps Porzingis is, the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau and that whole staff knows who Kristaps Porzingis is. This is a guy that provides premium space, and it's not just him shooting regular threes. He is towards the top of the league in average shot distance. He shoots deep threes, and he makes deep threes. So in the event that Josh Hart has Jaylen Brown with his dribble picked up in the paint, Karl-Anthony Towns should be looking for Kristaps Porzingis instead of trying to reach for the ball and tell to get another 3. Again, Karl-Anthony Towns was absolutely phenomenal on the offense side of the ball. But can you tell me, like, seriously, can you seriously tell me that he gave his all on this closeout? You cannot tell me he gave his all in his closeout. Like, he was phenomenal on the offense side of the ball. Cooked all of our smalls. Tatum had a tough time on him. Drew had a tough time on him. Guys who were who have been successful on Karl Towns since he was with the Timberwolves. The Drews, the Tatums, you know what I'm saying? We didn't have Al Horford, which is probably the best option to guard him 1v1, but I don't know, man. But at least with another Celtics 3. Now, this is not on Karl Towns. This is just Kristaps being Kristaps, having a huge night. And when you give somebody so many open threes so they can warm up, that's target practice. All right, so we got high ball screen again. Looked like Kristaps was set up to set some type of step up screen with Jason Tatum going downhill just to really have Karl Towns switches, but he just ends up popping. We got OG trailing. We got Cat right here on Jason Tatum. They end up switching, and then this is what makes a guy this big a unicorn, right? Somebody that's 7'3" that can shoot the ball, that's cool, right? But the agility and the way they move at that size. At 7'3", he's able to pump fake a guy that has already hit 7-8 threes. He's able to pump fake a small defender, drive on him, take the bump, and shoot right over him. And the Celtics did a much better job containing Karl Towns in that second half. He had 22 points in the first half and only had, well, not only 12 points is a good amount, but just compared to his first half, he only had 12 points in the second half. But other than points, he was just a lot less effective. In the second half, he was a -8. I know plus minus isn't the greatest stat for everything, but he also had 4 fouls in the second half. 3 of those were shooting fouls. He didn't have a foul in the first half. And this is the defensive strategy I was talking about earlier, right? Where we just say, hey, Josh Hart, we don't really care what you do on the offense side of the ball. We have a smaller guy on Karl Towns. So in the event they do a pick and roll, something like that, we'll just always have that, right? We'll have somebody switched on to Jalen Brunson who we're comfortable with. There were possessions in this game where Kristaps Porzingis did a phenomenal job on Jalen Brunson. There'll be another clip after this, I believe. But we want to keep Kristaps out of those pick and rolls, right? And if Josh Hart is the one that's setting those screen and rolls with Porzingis on him, and if he's popping, like, we're just going to send 2 to Jalen Brunson. Karl Towns in the post, in this instance, we're not even checking Josh Hart. And Kristaps with the phenomenal help right there, forcing Karl Towns, who was going to shoot this ball, ends up getting a pass off, even though, bro, brother, that's not a travel. But he passed out to OG, and he ends up missing. And the Celtics do a nice job on his possession, just being patient and milking the action. And something that was really good in this game was rejecting screens, because especially with Kristaps Porzingis popping, if they reject the screen, Karl Towns would like try to get over to the ball handler so they don't get to the rim, which left the pop for Kristaps Porzingis wide open, or there was a smaller guy closing out to him. If a Karl Towns closeout isn't the turn Kristaps Porzingis, then a Jalen Brunson closeout damn sure ain't. But this is just a really tough shot. This should have been the and one. Also, you see Jalen Brunson gets Kristaps on the bottom there, gets Kristaps on his legs there. But yeah, this is a tough shot, right? No matter how I think of the coverage, right, I don't think Karl should be leaving him that open to begin with, but that is a tough shot to hit. So that, you know what I'm saying, that's something else. But then, and here the Knicks really wanted Kristaps Porzingis to be in this pick and roll. You see he's guarding Josh Hart. Tatum is going to pre-switch because he figures that a pick and roll is coming. Then you're going to see Mikal Bridges right here. He's going to tell OG to go screen just so they can get Kristaps on a Jalen Brunson. And Kristaps ends up doing a good job. I think Jalen Brunson picked up his dribble way too early, but then he ends up getting the ball back, and Kristaps still does a nice job contesting with his length. Now on to Jason Tatum, who had 32 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists in this game. Should have had way more than 5 assists, but Kristaps can't hit every shot. But that's not the point, right? The gravity that this man holds on the ball, off the ball, it just makes so much happen for the Celtics. He just generates so much offense, and the way that the Knicks react to him as a whole. So if it's OG Anunoby guarding him and we're trying to get OG off of him, the way that OG sticks to him if he sets a screen means that the handler has a lane to the basket. And on this particular play, and I said this earlier, when the Celtics rejected screens in this game, it left the pop man wide open, which in turn has Kristaps Porzingis getting hot for 3. So he rejects the screen there with the jab step, goes the other way. You see how Karl Towns reacts to that. He goes over to Jason Tatum, and a wide open 3 for Kristaps Porzingis. All right, so here we are again. We got Tatum coming up the court. He's gonna jab, reject the screen, makes OG turn around. Kristaps Porzingis gets another wide open look. And Tatum had that mid-range going tonight, shot 57% in that area. And here in the Spain Piernard just shows really good patience with the hound dog guard him. We got, well, Luke didn't even end up setting the screen, but there is the back screen against Karl Towns, and Drew Holiday coming out to the 3-point line wide open because, again, the gravity that Jason Tatum has. Drew Holiday's wide open, but Tatum is still able to get that one-legged shot off. And here we got Tatum showing the two-way ability, getting out in transition after the steal, and he is tough to stop when he gets in this mode. All right, City Setters go to angle pick and roll. They try to get the switch with Jalen Brunson on Jason Tatum. Doesn't end up getting it, but they still going to work. Jason Tatum with a very quick spin move, causing the help by Mitch Robinson. Drops it off to Luke Kornet, and he gets fouled. All right, so here at the end of the first quarter, we got a good Verajao screen here by Luke Kornet. Just a phenomenal screener, knows the angles of screening and where and when to screen to get Jason Tatum open and get OG Anunoby off him on this play. So he comes up on this side and then he flips the angle of that pick and roll right there, so OG cannot be a factor from behind or to trail him, and Tatum just hits a walk-up pull-up three. All right, so we got good initial defense by Josh Hart, making Tatum come up to the hash mark, but then he turns his head for 1 second to see the Luke Kornet screen. Tatum again, nice things happen when we reject the screens in this game, and Tatum is met by swipe by OG, little dig right there, but then he does a nice in and out with one hand, doesn't even put the other hand on the ball, and then gets out to Derek White, creates another open shot. All right, shit, it says go to that angle pick and roll / high ball screen setup, but this is the first time I've seen Kristaps Porzingis in this position, so it's probably not going to be a high ball screen with Kristaps as the handler. So what it turns out to be is when they give to Kristaps Porzingis, it's another post entry angle, but here it's a pin down for Drew Holiday. So this is just another wrinkle to the Celtics offense that we're just now seeing, right? With Kristaps Porzingis at the top of the key, Luke Kornet parked in the area of the mid-range or the three, so he can just get into ball screens or dribble handoffs quickly. Right there, they give it to Kristaps. They pin down on this side, but there's still a post-entry angle with how tall Kristaps Porzingis is. He's able to get the ball up and over in a nice spot for Jason Tatum, and he gets a layup. And this is just really crazy to even think about. It's funny for us to say, but it's kind of sad at the same time. Like, the idea of us hunting Mikal Bridges, a guy that was deemed one of the best perimeter defenders for a couple years, and the Knicks spending 5 first-round picks on him and all those assets to get him, he can't even like be trusted by his own team at that. There was a point where we were going after him and OG was like, no, like he was fighting like hell to stay on Jason Tatum, which is like, I give all the credit in the world to OG, but like the game plan was, don't let Mikal Bridges get back on Tatum. To be fair, it's not like he's getting like killed on these. Tatum is hitting some tough shots. He's playing okay defense, but it's just crazy to even think about. And here we got another one. You saw Drew Holiday set that screen on OG Anunoby so Mikal Bridges can switch on him. At the end of the third quarter, Tatum gets another fadeaway on Mikal. And here we have another high ball screen between Tatum and Kristaps Porzingis, and too much space. Too much space, buddy. Tatum, like, he did a breakdown of the pick and rolls with him and Brian Scalabrine, and he's just like, he's just reading these bigs on these pick and rolls, man. He's reading your feet, he's reading your hips, he's reading where your hands are when he comes off. And when he does this move and Karl-Anthony Towns' hands aren't already up, or he's not closing that space, the ball's gone. And here we are again, Celtics hunting Mikal Bridges. I don't think he's playing horrible defense. It's just, he's just not strong enough, and Tatum is just hitting tough shots. He had a night tonight, and it's just kind of crazy, bro. And we got clutch Tatum back in this game. He had 12 points in the fourth quarter, missed a critical free throw to tie the game up. The Knicks came down, hit it to Tatum, walking down OG Anunoby, and OG Anunoby. Oh, brother, listen, man, I got a lot of respect for OG. He's a tough cover to get rid of. But Tatum, when it mattered most, gotta put the flashlight on him, man. Where that boy going? It mattered most. He got rid of him, and he hit the three. And look at Tyler Cole. He like, hey, this is why we got a flashlight. As Tatum hit this shot, like, God dang, nabbit, this fucking guy. Look. But that is a video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe, and share it in everyone that you can. Just out there a little bit more. And I will see you guys in the next video. This is Nick. Peace.